Do you feel that there's more to life than the one you're currently living in? Do you feel that you're living to your full potential? Well, in today's episode, we are going to talk about what are the 3 steps that you can take to maximize your full potential. Let's discuss. Hi, and welcome to Live Your Hero's Journeys podcast. I am your host, Pheh Sze. I've lived through multiple hero's journey for those who doesn't know my story as a medical professional, a startup founder, an author, and also a coach and speaker. I created this podcast as a source of inspiration and practical wisdom on how to live to your full potential by embracing all of you. So, have you ever done any gardening before? If you do gardening, you realize that the plant that grow on the pot can only grow to the size of the pot. For example, the plant may reach the full potential, say 2 to 3 meters, but if you put it in a small pot, it can only grow to a certain size. If you transplant it into a bigger pot, then it can grow to the full potential. Just like any of us, we are born with some unique abilities and talent, but may not really live to our full potential if we are not in the right environment. So, what are the 3 ways that you can take in order to maximize your full potential? The first step is know thyself. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time by Socrates. Why is it so important for us to know ourselves? Because by knowing ourselves, we can put ourselves in the right environment. We can choose what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And these come through our self-knowledge and also mastery. Some questions that you can ask yourself is, do you know what makes your eyes sparkle? I'm sure when you talk about certain topics to your friends, to your colleagues, you can literally see when somebody's eyes starts to sparkle and they speak with enthusiasm. And when you ask them a certain topic about certain topic, you can see how the smiles begin to fade, or when they're talking about situation that is no longer working for them. So these are the clues that you can find to know what you really want in life. Do you know what are your strengths? What come naturally for you? Or what gets you into the flow where you forget the time? And also, and that's another part of knowing yourself, is to know what are your shadows, what are your limitations, what are your weaknesses. A great story that I've heard is from the famous Oprah Winfrey. What's amazing about this story is that she didn't really change, but placing herself in the right environment, she began to flourish. The story begins by she being an anchor lady in the news. In that role, she was not able to really express herself. Just imagine when you're reading the news, you can't be, crying because there's a disaster happening somewhere in the world. You have to remain having a poker face when you're reading the news. But by chance encounters one day where she was asked to cover a live event where she was interviewing somebody. And she felt that she was in an element because she was able to express herself freely. And that's the amazing thing when you put yourself in an environment where you can feel that you're expressing yourself freely and not having to shut down or downgrade or suppress a certain part of your personality. And that's one reason why I'm really into personality psychology as well. So for example, when I was university as a pharmacy student, I always thought that I'm going to get my master's and PhD because I was thinking myself as a very academic kind of person. But after realizing that in order for me to do that, I have to spend a lot of time alone researching, and it's a very solitary kind of work. I realized for my personality, I love people. I love to talk and express myself freely. I have the two sides of me where I like to reflect. I'm very introspective, where I write a lot of journals and I express myself that way. But there's also another part of me where I like to connect to people as well. And hence I created my first startup where I get the chance to really bring people together and connect with them. So by knowing who you are, by knowing what you want, by knowing what your true capabilities, and by knowing what's your weakness as well, you can place yourself in the best position or environment where you can truly flourish. The second steps to maximize your full potential is by releasing your fear of judgment. Have you ever have this question came up in your mind? What would people think if I do X? You can just fill in the box. What if I pursue this career? What if I change my career from being a professional to opening a bakery shop? What would people think if I want to become a singer? What would people think if I decided to write a book? It's like, who am I to do that? A lot of us always ask or wait for external validation to tell us, yes, you can do what you want to do. But in this day and age where the barrier of entry is almost none, you are free to create whatever you want to create. The only person that is stopping you is yourself and the fear of judgment from other people. For myself, I knew that I've always wanted to write a book. But what was stopping me from doing that is the fear of judgment of, oh, what will people say if I write the book? Or I was thinking to myself, I need to reach a certain level of success, say in my business, before I can share the lessons that I've learned, my wisdom and knowledge to the world. So before we can even start, we already start to censor ourselves. So the questions you need to ask yourself is, especially when you are creating your dream life, is to stop putting barriers, is to have the freedom to dream freely and then come up with a plan. What would you do if you can't fail? That is a really great question, and I'm sure you heard of this many times. What's stopping of us from pursuing what we want to do is obviously the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, and the fear of success. This reminded me of the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I'm sure a lot of you may have read the book. And what's interesting about the book is that the shepherd went to a town and he has a dream of going to find this treasure, and he met this merchant that sells glasses on top of the hill. And this merchant has the dream of going for a pilgrimage in Mecca, but he never did that. He always gives an excuse that he can't leave the shop, and always something comes up. For him, it is better for him to just have a dream and not realize the dream, because what if you fail? What if you become disappointed? But you know, in life, just as what Michael Jordan has said, I might paraphrase him, it doesn't matter if I fail, because all of us go through failure, but at least I tried. Because the art of trying or pursuing something, regardless whether you fail or not, always in the end of the day make you a better person. So whatever that you want to do, don't let the fear of judgment stops you. Dream freely and then come up with a concrete plan to follow the dream. The third way to maximize your full potential is embrace all of you. Are you more of a generalist or a specialist? Not many of us growing up knew exactly what we wanted to do. I always envy those people from a very young age knew exactly what they want to do, and I'm very fascinated by that. Some people from a very young age, say for example, knew that they want to be a writer, and that's what they do. Some people like Lady Gaga is such a great artist, and from a young age she knew that she's going to be an artist. And they go straight and pursue what they want to do. For a lot of us who are more like a generalist, we have many various interests, and sometimes it's hard to find one area that we can really focus on. It is also based on the education system. So for myself, growing up in Malaysia, we have the education system. At the age of 16, we have to choose whether we want to go to the art stream or the science stream. And you can't have both and pursue both domains. When I was in primary school, I was known as the artist of the school, and I won a lot of major arts competition, and that's something that comes naturally for me. So it's a natural talent. And there's another side of me that's very pragmatic, very practical. I love logical reasoning. I love mathematics as well. And when I was 16, I've got no choice but to choose either or which way to go. So in Asia, where science stream is more a revered, I would say professional, for example, like you either be a doctor, engineer, medical field. So I chose the science stream and later become a pharmacist. But I felt that I was confined to a profession where I can't express myself fully, the all of me. Hence, I created what I'm doing now, and also my first startup business where I can be free and expresses myself fully and using different tools that I have. Just as Charlie Munger said, if you're a hammer, you see everything as a nail. But if you're like a Swiss army, you can apply yourself to different situations and using different kind of tools that you have. So what is it that is unique about you? So how you know what's unique about you is by embracing the power of and. I always thought I have to either or. Either I'm an artist or I'm a scientist. But if we embraces the power of and, that's when we embraces all of us and what's unique about us. You can be a dancer and a programmer. You can be a scientist and an artist. Why not? So for myself, by encompassing all of me, I have the interest in psychology, philosophy, business, entrepreneurship, economics, and arts and design. And how can I bring all of them together into one and produces something that is unique, just like how Steve Jobs have the technological background and artistic, aesthetic view about life, and how he brought those two together and creating something unique like a Mac, an iPhone that is beautifully designed but functional as well. So the question you can ask yourself, what are the things that's unique about you that people find really surprising? People might be surprised that you are an engineer that loves rapping. I don't know. Whatever that is really unique about you, that is what you need to embrace, because all of us are unique. And it's a matter of finding what is unique about you, your own personal branding, and bringing that to the world. Because even if you change career, you don't lose what you've learned before. For example, like, what I've learned in the pharmacy, I can apply into my business in whatever that I do, because being a pharmacist, I need to be very analytical, I'm very organized, and I can bring those skill set into whatever I do. So if you're a salesperson, you can bring your sales skill into whatever domain that you want to do. Say, even you're creating, say, coding, you can code it in a way that you feel that will sell. So whatever that you have, so you might say you love gardening, for example, and how can you bring those skill set, like paying attention, so you can bring all the skill set that you have. If you want more questions or more in-depth ways to reflect to maximize your full potential, make sure you download my free guide, the 3 steps to maximize your full potential PDF guide that you can find on my website, and I can put that on all the links as well, where you can find some of the questions and worksheets that you can use in order for you to reflect and find out the ways you can maximize your full potential. Leave me in the comment, if you're on YouTube, which are the top 3 steps that I've mentioned today that you find really resonates with you. I'd like to hear that from you. I hope that you find today's episode to be useful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel or follow my podcast. And until I see you again, live a life worth writing about.